Just 6 months ago, I was living what felt like the quintessential American dream in vibrant San Diego, California. At 28, my life was a picture-perfect spread from a glossy magazine. As a senior marketing director at a thriving downtown tech firm, I pulled in a six-figure salary, which afforded me a stunning ocean view apartment in La Jolla. My world seemed staged for effortless beauty. I was utterly convinced that Mark Sterling was my soulmate. We were set to marry, and after 3 years together, I truly believed I'd found the one. The unshakable constant in my life always had been my bond with my mother, Serafina Hayes. She was 54, my confidant, my best friend, having raised me alone since my father's death when I was 12. Serafina, an interior designer, was known for her kind nature and the radiating positive energy she exuded. Like a giddy bride-to-be herself, she eagerly planned every detail of my wedding. She still called me first thing every morning just to hear my voice, and remembered every significant event in my life. Mark, a charming 31-year-old pediatrician at San Diego's Children's Hospital, embodied everything I sought in a life partner: intelligence, compassion, and undeniable good looks. I fell head over heels for him after only 2 months. Having met at a 2021 charity event for pediatric cancer research, he was wonderful with my mom, frequently joining us for Sunday breakfast at our favorite Balboa Park spot. Mark would blush and claim he was a fortunate one whenever Serafina would say anything about how lucky I was to have found such a lovely man. Our November wedding was set to take place at the historic Hotel del Coronado, with a reception to follow that would have a breathtaking view of the Pacific Ocean. Our guest list was 200 people strong, a blend of relatives, friends, and co-workers from both the medical center and my tech firm. Every last detail had been painstakingly planned by me for months, down to the organic farm-to-table cuisine and the string quartet that would perform throughout the ceremony. Mark's brother from Portland was the best man, and my maid of honor was Chloe, my old USC roommate. We already booked our honeymoon suite in Maui, and George's at the Cove was secured for the rehearsal dinner. The pieces were fitting together flawlessly, from picking out the flowers to writing out the invites. My mom had been my right-hand woman, as she texted me pictures and ideas for the wedding. She appeared nearly more thrilled than I was. Mark had been just as actively involved. His enthusiasm for beginning our married life together and meticulousness had taken me by surprise. We'd even found the ideal property in Encinitas within 15 minutes of both our workplaces, featuring a garden where Serafina could finally fulfill her long-standing promise to teach me how to grow vegetables. In keeping with tradition, my bridal party and I were staying at a boutique hotel in downtown San Diego. The night before our wedding, deliberately not seeing the groom, my mom, Serafina, was with us. We were enjoying a little party with some champagne and chocolate-covered strawberries. Having ordered room service, I imagined we would cherish this special bond for years to come because it was so authentically a mother-daughter encounter. However, the most treacherous betrayals can come from those who are closest to you. As the other bridesmaids retired to their rooms about 11:30 that evening, my mom took a quick shower, leaving her iPhone plugged in next to her glass of wine on the nightstand. I didn't mean to pry, but I couldn't help but look over when a text message notification appeared on her phone. My heart raced to the sight, and all my assumptions about the two people I cared about most were shattered. At 11:27 p.m., Mark sent the message: Serafina, tonight was absolutely out of this world. How you whispered my name and how you felt in my arms, you keep popping into my head. Even if tomorrow is going to be tough, we will overcome it as a team. It is you, not she, that I love very much. There was a picture that went along with the message that could not have been more clear-cut. I was supposed to be enjoying my bachelorette party just hours ago, but instead I found a clear, intimate image of the two of them together in what appeared to be Mark's apartment. The entirety of my world came crashing down in that one instant. Little did I know that the guy I was supposed to marry in just under 12 hours had been having an affair with my own mother. The lady who had carried me from birth, comforted me when I sobbed, and been my rock through thick and thin, had betrayed me in the worst way imaginable. It was as if I were having an out-of-body experience as I sat there staring at that phone screen. Although I was mentally clear, my hands were trembling. There was no drunken blunder or emotional breakdown here. I noticed that this had been ongoing for at least 2 months. When I browsed through their chat history, they exchanged dozens of texts, plotted covert meetings, discussed how to conceal their affair from me, and worst of all, planned their post-wedding lives. They intended for me to be blissfully unaware of their treachery as I walked down the aisle, and then they would carry on their affair discreetly while I began my married life. Reflecting on the previous few months, I couldn't help but notice the numerous instances where seemingly insignificant details failed to make sense. My mom said she had a string of famous clients who wanted nighttime appointments, so she began staying late more often. The hospital was short-staffed in the pediatric intensive care unit, so Mark started working extra midnight shifts. Mark had complimented my mom's new perfume a bit too enthusiastically, and there had been knowing looks between them at family dinners as well as inside jokes that appeared to leave me out. Because I had full faith in them, I had ignored all of these warning signs. My job requires me to constantly monitor consumer trends, look for patterns that others might overlook, and uncover any discrepancies in their actions. However, I had failed to notice the most blatant indicators of dishonesty in my own life. The physical act wasn't the only aspect of the betrayal. All the while, they were plotting to have me marry a man who had feelings for my mom. So there was a lot of cunning and lying involved. After Serafina dried off in the shower, I had already used my own device to snap multiple shots of her phone screen, while she wore the silk robe I had given her for Mother's Day, and her hair was wrapped in a towel. Proof and documentation are two things that my marketing experience has taught me the value of, reminding her that I needed to get some rest before the big day. I kept my voice steady. "Get some rest, my love," she whispered, as she kissed my forehead. "You are about to experience the most exquisite day of your life tomorrow." It was almost too ironic. I sat on the bed's edge as the betrayal's full impact hit me after she left for her connected room. Instead of abruptly canceling the wedding or addressing them in a hysterical state, I made a choice that would shape what happened next. Up until I exposed them to everyone who mattered to them, I was going to let them think they got away with it. I dedicated the following 4 hours to formulating my plan, using the same rigorous methodology I employ for extensive advertising campaigns. To begin, I used a private cloud server that I had access to and uploaded the screenshots taken by my mom's phone afterwards. I used the hotel's business center to make an uncomplicated but devastating presentation, which included images and explicit messages that proved their affair was real, although it was filled with material that would ruin their relationship and their reputations. I made it appear professional, like a wedding SLIDESHOW. Using the hotel's lightning-fast internet, I set up a secure website with all the proof, which I would only disclose at the ideal time. I made sure the site was mobile-friendly so visitors could read it easily on their phones, and that the server it was hosted on could handle heavy traffic. A backup plan was also in the works. I had duplicates of the most damning messages and images produced and bound into beautiful folders that resembled wedding programs. After that, I contacted my lawyer, Jessica Young, despite the fact that it was almost 3 a.m. 4 years, Jessica had taken care of the legal aspects of my company and negotiated contracts on my behalf. I could trust her implicitly, despite the late hour. She listened intently as I described the scenario. She answered on the second ring. "I apologize that this happened to you, Willow," she told me. But she was amazed by my level of clarity of thought. "Your plan is well within the law, your life, your wedding, and the evidence are all contained in this. It is quite acceptable for you to be completely honest about your own circumstances, along with making sure I had witnesses to the events that would transpire." Jessica instructed me to record everything with timestamps. As my representative, she volunteered to attend the wedding and blend in among the guests in case anything went wrong. According to her, telling the truth at the perfect time might sometimes be the best kind of retaliation. I had a restless night, yet by morning I felt oddly composed and able to concentrate. I got in the shower, changed into my Vera Wang wedding gown that I had custom made, and then I gazed at my reflection in the mirror. Looking back at me, the woman appeared calm and even beautiful. For a long time, I had been known as someone who could keep their cool under fire, launch perfect marketing campaigns in the face of seemingly insurmountable schedules, and consistently produce results that blew everyone away. Those abilities would be put to the highest test today. I meticulously applied my makeup, adorned my ears with the diamond earrings my mom had bought me on my birthday, and combed my hair into the sophisticated updo we had practiced 3 times. It was imperative that every aspect of the wedding be flawless because I had no doubt that each and every one of the guests would recall my appearance, speech, and reaction to the most terrible treachery in the world within the next few hours. The performance of my life was about to happen soon. There was no change whatsoever in the hotel. As the musicians prepared to play, the guests arrived in their most elegant dress, and the flowers were really stunning. Unbeknownst to her, my mother, Serafina, was about to have her life shattered while looking absolutely radiant in her champagne-colored dress. While welcoming visitors and making small chat about the ceremony's beauty, she was acting out her role as the bride's pleased mother. With a kiss on my hand and a whisper of "You look absolutely perfect, darling," Mark came, dashing in his handmade tuxedo. Their performances were really jaw-dropping in their boldness just 12 hours ago. We were sharing a bed. Now, here we are, bracing to witness my public declaration of love and devotion to him. But I was prepared to face them. I had devoted months to mastering people reading, figuring out what drives them, and crafting persuasive messages. Presenting the most consequential presentation of my life would need me to draw on all of my knowledge and experience on the surface. The ceremony at the Hotel del Coronado lived up to my expectations. Elegant white chairs were set up in perfect rows on the manicured lawn, with the Pacific Ocean providing a breathtaking backdrop. The weather was beautiful, with a light breeze, and the 200 guests were seated from the arrangements of white roses and eucalyptus to the string quartet playing Pachelbel's canon and Diaz. Guests found their places. My mother had assisted me in choosing every detail. Standing there in his dark blue tuxedo, Mark seemed like the picture-perfect groom as he awaited my arrival at the altar, while his brother served as best man. My college roommate Chloe looked stunning as a bridesmaid in a navy gown. The ceremony was about to commence as the officiant, Rev. Thompson of the nearby Presbyterian Church, was getting ready to do his usual gracious and dignified job. After months of preparing, my fairy tale wedding appeared to be taking place before my very eyes. There were 250 people staring at me as I made my way down the aisle, carried by my uncle, David, who was kind enough to offer to be my godfather. My whole extended family was there, as were Mark's relatives from all across the nation, co-workers from the hospital and my IT company, and friends we'd made along the way. Christina, my boss of the startup, was overjoyed. We were joined in our celebration by Mark's pediatric ward co-workers and their wives, as well as by a few of my mother's interior design clients. Serafina, my mom, in the champagne gown that we had picked out at Nordstrom 3 months ago, sat proudly in the front row, as the character of the distraught mother watching her daughter's wedding unfold. She dabbed her eyes with a delicate lace handkerchief. It was clear that Mark's parents were overjoyed to have me join their family. They had traveled in from Denver, despite the unbelievable contradiction. I kept my cool and smiled. Everything was proceeding as expected. The ceremony began with Rev. Thompson delivering the customary opening remarks, which center on the sacredness of marriage and the importance of love and dedication, knowing that in a matter of minutes, this lovely ceremony would become something that all of these individuals would never forget. Let the gravity of the situation sink in. In his sermon, the Rev stressed the value of trust, honesty, and unity in marriage, as well as the importance of couples working through difficult times as a unit. With it, he were aware of what was going to happen. I had Maria, the event planner, at the hotel, start handing out what seemed like special programs to the guests toward the beginning of the ceremony. The Del Coronado had hundreds of weddings that Maria had officiated, and she was very discreet and professional. She consented to discreetly distribute the programs during the wedding after I informed her. They had a special surprise feature for the reception. Guests could access my private website with the QR code and password that were included in each program. It was well-timed since, although understandably inquisitive, most guests would want to check their phones right away, but respectful enough to keep them on silent during the ceremony. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Maria making her way down the rows, distributing programs to smaller groups of attendees. I watched as my Phoenix-based uncle, Paul's expression went from inquisitive to bewildered to horrified. In the span of 15 seconds after he scanned his QR code and entered the password, Jessica, my cousin, covered her mouth with her hand as she stared at her phone screen. Christina, My supervisor became pale and showed her husband the computer. He gasped in shock. From a marketing point of view, watching the domino effect unfold was intriguing. The mood started to change noticeably as soon as almost every customer had their phone out. People were transferring their phones to others who hadn't gotten the programs yet, and there were whispered chats and astonished reactions. I had foreseen the evidence's rapid dissemination. Across the congregation, everything was there, time-stamped, and unquestionable. The explicit text between Mark and my mother, images of them together, and a timeline indicating that their romance had been ongoing for months. However, the ritual went on as planned, and I patiently waited for the right opportunity to strike while grinning broadly. I noticed that Mark's aunt, Lena, was presenting her phone to Mark's mother, who let out a short cry before hiding her mouth with her handkerchief. This happened as Rev. Thompson was preaching on holy vows and eternal commitment. Serafina, my mom, continued to face ahead, oblivious to the mounting mayhem behind her as she listened intently to the minister's sermon. On love and trust, my cousin passed a program to my uncle David, who had just given me away. While he sat in the second row, with the same inquisitive look that everyone had worn earlier, I observed as he scanned the QR code. As he recognized what he was staring at, his expression changed from curious to confused to shocked, with his mouth slightly agape in surprise. He stole a quick peek at my mom, Mark, and then returned to his phone screen. As Mark saw many around him fiddle with their phones and murmur something important, he started to appear uneasy. In an effort to ascertain the source of the increasing disturbance, he continued to glance around the assembly. As the bride's emotional mother, my mom would turn to smile at people and dab her eyes with a handkerchief, but she was still blissfully ignorant at last. The time had come that I had been anticipating. At the customary point in the ceremony, Rev. Thompson will ask if anyone has any objections to the union. In his rich, sonorous voice, he admonished anyone who could present a valid argument against Willow and Mark's holy nuptials to do so immediately or eternally remain silent. I reached out and delicately removed the microphone from the Reverend's grasp. The only sounds that could be heard on the hotel grounds were the pounding of waves against the coast, and my own heartbeat. Mark, my mother, and the congregation full of people who had just learned the truth about their treachery were my direct lines of sight. With a calm and clear voice that carried on the ocean wind, I answered, "Yes, I must express something of paramount importance." I could see my mom's face change to mine the second she knew something was seriously wrong. The looks of dread on the faces of the visitors behind her caused her face to go through a series of emotions, beginning with uncertainty and ending with sheer terror. Realizing his secret was out in the open, Mark half-stepped toward me, his face flushed with fear. He began to say, "Willow," but I stopped him by raising my hand. I continued by telling Mark, "I loved you," maintaining the same level head I used while presenting to large groups of people. "I adored you with all my heart, my future, my hopes, and my emotions were entrusted to you." I held my breath, allowing my words to settle into place. "Even more than life itself, I loved you, Mom." As I turned to face her, "You were the one who showed me the importance of being strong and honest, and you were also my best friend." The hotel lawn was so serene that the distant call of seagulls could be heard. Everybody, even the kids, had calmed down. I could feel the pressure of the situation as everyone was waiting for me to say something. My life's most pivotal message needed to be delivered at this very moment. As I spoke, my voice composed despite the intensity of my emotions, I emphasized that treachery, particularly from those you care about most, always has repercussions. Last night, I learned that the two individuals I trusted the most with all my heart had been deceiving me, betraying me, and plotting to keep me in the dark about their betrayal. As I walked down the aisle, even though she tried, my mom couldn't utter a word. As he attempted to gain control of the situation, Mark's hands began to tremble, and he began to show signs of visible shaking. The visitors were in disbelief. Some were sobbing, some appeared enraged, and they were all fixated on the proof that had been shown to them on their phones, which indicated what had been going on behind my back. I continued by pointing to the congregation, where almost everyone was now clutching their phones. After seeing the explicit photographs and messages that showed the affair, the evidence is obvious, time-stamped, and incontrovertible. While I was busy with wedding preparations, choosing flowers, trying on cakes, and writing out invitations, my fiancé and my mother were having an affair. I didn't know about it until now. I had never seen anything like the mayhem that broke out. Some guests stood up to gain a better view, while others double-checked their phones to be sure they had seen correctly. And they were all shouting questions, with her meticulously placed eyeliner dripping down her cheeks. My mother began to scream uncontrollably, "Willow, please allow me to explain," as Mark yelled out to me from among the throng as he attempted to make his way to me. However, I was far from done. I was going to give my speech my all. After months of preparation, through all the mayhem, I managed to get my voice out and say that they were planning to marry me today. While they carried on their romance behind my back, they intended for me to publicly declare my love and devotion to him. They intended to disgrace our family, this holy ritual, and all those who had gathered here today to rejoice in what they believed to be true love. Now my Uncle David stood there, his rage visible on his crimson face as he seemed ready to attack Mark. A number of my relatives around my mom, some of whom were attempting to reassure her while others were visibly repulsed by what they had discovered. His father stood motionless in disbelief, while Mark's mother hid her face in her hands. They both appeared mortified. Amidst the mayhem, I broke the news that the wedding was over. Both of these relationships are as well. I will not wed a man who has been having an affair with my mom, and I will not maintain a connection with a lady who can so thoroughly deceive her own daughter. Reverend Thompson appeared as though he had never encountered anything similar in his 30 years of officiating marriages. So I returned the microphone to him. After saying my goodbyes to the two individuals responsible for destroying my trust and, by extension, my family's foundation, I started making my way back down the aisle in my wedding dress, carrying my head proudly down. At this point, the visitors were in utter chaos. Some were trailing behind me, yelling encouragement and support. Other people were arguing with my mom and Mark, trying to get them to explain themselves. I could make out my mom's cries as she yelled out my name, pleading with me to stop and give her an explanation. As he yelled out, Mark told me it wasn't what it appeared, that they could figure it out and that he loved me. A peculiar sense of freedom hit me, yet I persisted in walking nevertheless. Even though the picture-perfect wedding ceremony I had meticulously prepared for months was falling apart behind me, I felt more genuine and honest than I had in a long time. As horrible as the truth was, it had broken me free from a life of deceit and falsehood. As I neared the hotel entrance, my best friend Chloe caught up with me. "I still can't believe they did that to you," she said to Willow as she continued to comprehend what had transpired that day. "Are you doing okay?" As I locked eyes with her, I understood everything was crystal clear, a feeling I hadn't experienced in months. The last time I was this good was a long time ago, I assured her. Despite destroying everything you ever desired, the truth has a way of freeing you. The rumor quickly went outside the Hotel del Coronado grounds within a few hours. The tale became trending on Twitter and Instagram by Sunday night, after other attendees shared the proof on social media. By Tuesday, I was getting calls from national media outlets requesting an interview regarding the wedding. That had gone viral for all the wrong reasons. On Monday morning, it was picked up by the local San Diego news stations. I spoke with a writer from the San Diego Union Tribune who had previously covered business stories about my software company, but I turned down the most of the interview requests. My remarks were concise and respectful. I declared my belief in honesty and openness. Concerning issues of honesty and trust, people have a right to know the true story. After months of lying and betrayal, what transpired during my wedding was only inevitable. My mom and Mark both faced immediate and serious professional repercussions after the news broke. Mark's job at Children's Hospital was no longer salvageable. A pediatrician's association with such a controversy would only add insult to injury. For the hospital management, which is already reeling from budget cuts and intense public scrutiny, the state board reviewed his medical license and subtly requested that he step down within 2 weeks. The foundation of my mother's interior design firm Personal Connections and word of mouth fell apart suddenly. Not only did she lose contracts with multiple large clients, but her 8-year business partner also ended their relationship. Even more tragic were the individual repercussions. The once close and extended family of mine was totally broken up. A number of my relatives chose to ignore my mother and try to keep in touch with her, which led to uncomfortable tensions at every family meeting. Aunt Rebecca, my mother's sister, publicly rejected her, calling her actions morally repugnant and sickening. I needed 3 weeks away from work to absorb the events and cope with the scrutiny from the media. My employer, Christina, told me that she respected my handling of the matter, and my coworkers were quite supportive as well. She praised her honesty and strength. Not everyone would have been brave enough to come clean in such a public manner. I stunned even myself with a decision I made for months following the wedding episode. I took a job offer in New York City from a big marketing agency. A professional connection of mine had heard my story and been so impressed by my handling of the issue that they extended the chance to me. I wanted a new beginning, far from the past and the rumors that circulated about me in San Diego, so the timing couldn't have been better. I was given a creative director position in New York City, which came with a large salary boost and the opportunity to collaborate on innovative digital campaigns for Fortune 500 firms. I spoke to my mom one last time before I left California. I had stubbornly refused to answer her calls for months, despite her persistent attempts to contact me. At long last, on a Saturday morning, she arrived at my flat, appearing older and more battered than the last time I'd seen her. I know I can't change what I did, but I want you to know that I'm sorry, Willow, she continued, her voice trailing off as she spoke. For the rest of my life, I will be haunted by the regret of having destroyed everything that held significance. For me, whatever it was that happened to me, it was terrible, and now I'll never see you again. Standing at my doorway was a lady who had been my hero for 28 years, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her. I forgive you, I told my mom. You don't deserve my wrath, but I can't keep this resentment inside any longer. Furthermore, I'd rather not waste my energy hating you after 8 months. I was living it up in Manhattan, where I was immersed in artistically demanding campaigns, and whose only knowledge of my background was what I made them aware of. After a long hiatus, I resumed dating, this time being extremely cautious with trust, reading people and seeing warning signs or abilities that have served me well in my personal and professional life, and I am grateful for the lessons I learned. From this event, my mother downsized to a 1-bedroom in Phoenix to be near her aging parents, and I found out through common friends that Mark had relocated to Seattle to work at a minor clinic. Their affair seemed to have ended rapidly following the wedding event, as they were unable to handle the intense public scrutiny and the fallout from their conduct. I no longer gave any consideration to the tale of my wedding day revelation, even though it had become somewhat of a folklore in San Diego social circles. After what felt like an eternity of betrayal, I found myself at the start of a new and more genuine chapter in my life, and I had progressed on to greater and better things. When everything you thought you knew is shattered, the most painful losses might actually be the best opportunities for self-discovery, growth, and rebirth.